Hello, everyone. Welcome to Last Minute FPL. This is the episode 10, the Gameweek 10 podcast. Hi, Vikas. How are you? And happy Diwali to you.
Happy Diwali to you and all our viewers. Doing well. How are you? Celebrating the festivities here on my end.
Celebrations outside of FPL as usual. No celebration in FPL. Nice that Halloween and Diwali were on the same day. Had a nice time in the evening. Hope you.
Yeah, who knows? We could have some fireworks in the weekend. Uh, it's gonna make us all happy as a Diwali gift.
Yeah, hopefully on the pitch and in the FPL world as well. Because there have been fireworks on the pitch, just not in our teams. Uh, cool. Let's get started. Let's look at last week's points, and I think same story as usual. AI team with 71 points, going up from 50k to 36k. Palmer captain doing well, and the Saka to Salah transfer was neutral, but I think it's in good space with Salah and its team.
Yeah, another really strong week for the AI team. It's doing so well. I'm just cheering on the sidelines here. I'm really proud of how the AI team's doing. Really hoping it can go all the way. Can it get a top 5k, 10k finish from here? That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think at this point we have no choice but to live vicariously through the AI team. We're still languishing in the millions. And Chris Wood is just doing so well. I mean, not just for the AI, but he's proven a lot of people wrong in the latter half of last season and first half of this season. I keep waiting for it to revert to the mean, but he seems to keep going.
Yeah, and now actually there's a lot of talk of like maybe going to some sort of this type of structure, right? With Salah, Palmer, maybe like a Saka and moving Haaland out. And the AI team is not just one step ahead, but already gotten the points of not having Haaland and this type of a structure. So really strong start, and it'll be interesting if the AI team now somehow gets Haaland when everyone moves into kind of like a big in midfield draft.
Yeah, that would be funny. And I mean, things are going well when your goalkeeper gets an assist. Like, we're struggling for clean sheet points, and Sells is getting an assist from a long ball. Incredible stuff. Moving on to your team. You played the triple captain last week. Very unlucky with how it actually turned out. Do you want to walk us through your team?
Yeah, I played the triple captain. Pretty unlucky because if you saw the game, it is nothing about like not having KDP or something. City created a lot of chances. Haaland got a lot of clear-cut chances, but he looked exhausted. I think City do have a very thin squad now. And Haaland's been playing 90, 90, 90 every game, and it showed in that game. He looked exhausted. It was not sharp. He missed a lot of clear-cut chances. I think his XG was over 2 for the game. So definitely, I think the people who triple captain can feel hard done by. On a personal level, I'm happy it's a green arrow. I just wanted to kind of like an uplift either way. Triple captaincy is a very cheap way of getting that uplift. It did happen, so I'm pretty happy about that. Not a complete blank. I've had worse triple captaincies in the past, so I'll take it and move on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 6 points. It's a single game week at the end of the day, and yeah, he did register his highest XG of the season, and so definitely unlucky given that he scored 2 hat-tricks with a lot less XG earlier in the season. But again, triple captain is probably the least impactful chip in terms of because I mean the people who captained him are already getting 2x the points, so hopefully it doesn't. And even in a double game week, we've seen some outrageously bad triple captaincies. So
I think one of the disappointments I have here is not playing Aitnori. I thought Mikolenko had a greater chance of a clean sheet. Hindsight now looks bad because I think both teams are not teams. Okay, Everton I think did look good in terms of defensive signs, and that's why I played Mikolenko. But I think probably Aitnori would have been better because he also has that attacking threat to go with. And again, that's the same confusion this week. This week I'm going to play Aitnori. I'm going to watch Mikolenko get an assist and a clean sheet. Yeah.
I mean, at least you moved early on him. I think a lot of people will be bringing him in this week and next week. And at least maybe you'll get a couple of price rises out of it. Better on the team than not, I would say.
Yeah, I had to move early because I want a Palmer, and I made a late transfer last week of getting Palmer at Nori and got rid of Saka and Gabriel. Gabriel out seems good now. Saka matched Palmer more or less, so I think points wise pretty evenish. That transfer was neither like very positive or negative, but it also helped me gain a transfer, given that it didn't go into negatives. Like it was not like a disastrous move. So pretty okay with kind of how those transfers went.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Moving on to my team, 52 points. Not a great week again. Basically, all the points are coming from Mbumo and Palmer. Rico Lewis finally getting a clean sheet, which was nice. But a lot of blanks in the rest of the team. Solanke not looking good at all. He's not even getting chances. Calvert-Lewin has just been a steady stream of 2-pointers. The difference between Calvert-Lewin and Wood is insane. Like it was almost like a 50-50, and the way it's turned out, it's been pretty poor. Gabriel got subbed early. I don't know. It remains to be seen whether he'll play. And anyway, Arsenal ended up conceding a second. So in terms of points, pretty much the same thing. I think just looking forward to next week. Every week the team looks decent on paper, and the points are always not exciting.
I think what's interesting is like a lot of these 50-50s on that wild card. I think when we went back to like Gameweek 6, at looking at Solanke versus Jackson, Calvert-Lewin versus Wood. I went Calvert-Lewin, Solanke mainly because more guarantees of X minutes and kind of expect similar attacking potential or whatnot. Turns out that even though they do have more X minutes, the other strikers are just like better. They're maybe better teams, they're just better players. So it's definitely influencing my weightage of how much to look at X minutes versus just form and how good the players and the teams are, even if they just get 70 minutes.
Yeah, and one more 50-50, which wasn't really a 50-50, but Salah versus Haaland has also been one-way traffic in the past few weeks. Salah's got, I think, 6 double-digit returns in 9 game weeks, which is insane. He's the highest point scorer in the game, despite Haaland having those 17, and 13 pointers early on in the season. But again, Salah is overperforming the XG by quite a lot in the past few weeks, especially since our wildcard, and Haaland is just missing chance after chance. I think we're accumulating all the negative variance possible in the world this season. I'm hoping that the again reverting to the mean happens sooner rather than later. Okay, not pretty reading, but let's look at the mini league standings. The AI team is still first in the table. I think there was a pretty close fight between the AI team and Tarun's team last week, and then in the end, with that Liverpool game, the AI team ended up crossing him again. But interesting battle at the top. You and me, as usual, bringing up the rear.
Less said the better in terms of our positions there, but really interesting to see kind of how the top of the table shakes out. It's a really close fight between the AI team and all the way down to like the top 7, 8, where they're all within a shout of like a good week to just like shuffle that order around.
Yeah, I think typically the way I used to think about it is you can hope to gain maybe 20 points in a week. If you're like a 20 points gain over someone is a really good week. Like one of the better weeks, and we're finding ourselves over 100 points behind the top. So you need 5 incredible weeks in a row to catch one person, and then there's so many of the others in the middle. So it's already looking like a very tall ask, and I think it's time to stop.
But also, like, what's really exciting about this season is you can just go different. At the point where you think you need to catch up, there are a lot of opportunities because of the fact that there are so many different options. I think that's also something that's making the season exciting and fun rather than. I think there have been times in the previous season, for example, even if you're not at this 3.5 million, you're like say 200k something, kind of trying to get to the top 100k. It's been a grind because the template has been so strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like very few options to move out of that optimal template, and like everyone gets optimal points from the template. It's been hard to move, and I think that's not the case this season, which makes it very, very exciting.
Yeah, definitely there are options to go different. I think even this week you saw Palmer, Saka and Salah getting the returns, and Haaland was the one who slightly underperformed. So every week you do have this premium hokey cokey that you can do, but so far we've just gone further and further behind with our premium picks rather than gaining.
True.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
far, it's been an unmitigated. I think that Game Week 6 wildcard, whenever it is, has just been a complete disaster. It's been one of the worst wildcards I can remember in a long time.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the previous game week matches. Yeah, I mean, so this time we're just showing you the XG of the games in bracket along with the results. I think I'll get started. Pretty big week actually for from United perspective. Not just losing the game against West Ham, but also Ten Hag has finally gone. I think pretty unlucky in this game at least. The first half, Dallo and Bruno missed amazing opportunities. It feels like, I mean, they had around 16 xg so far this season and they've scored only 8 goals. That's just criminally underperforming, and that's not Ten Hag's fault. But defensively, definitely again porous. Like if you see, West Ham did create 3 xg, very dubious penalty, but I think there is a potential to get some United attackers once their fixtures turn in game week 11. They start with Leicester, and maybe Bruno or Garnacho will be options sometime soon.
Do you think it's like, yeah, I'll probably get to it later, but so for now, it's like a hold and see, or would you jump on a few players based on kind of the midweek result where United looks really good and had a strong result?
I mean, firstly, Leicester was playing a second string squad, and also United had a 7-0 in the previous round of the League Cup. So I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it. And I think I would wait till game week 11. Like, that's when the fixtures get really good. And also, you need to have transfers to be made. Like, you're not going to chuck someone like an Mbumo who's already doing well. Maybe if you have someone whose fixtures are turning, that's a good opportunity. But it wouldn't be my priority this week.
Yeah. I can talk about the City Southampton game that I took a keen interest in because of my triple captaincy and having Foden and Rico Lewis. I had, like 5 players in that game basically. So had a very keen interest on what's going on there. And what was very impressive from Southampton was they were very impressive. Southampton were very impressive in that game. They were defensively pretty solid, I would say, in the sense that it did not look like a walkover from City. I don't know whether that's because of some sort of fatigue because of the midweek fixtures and the slightly thinner squad that they had, but it was not an easy game for Man City. But at the same time, they got chances, and Haaland got clear-cut chances to score, which he just missed. Like they were just some glaring misses in that game. But overall, I think maybe it should have been like a 2-0, 3-0. But Southampton were not a walkover. They played pretty well, and it's kind of altering my. I've seen them play quite a few times now. I know they've had some bad results, but every time I've seen them, they play pretty decently. They play good football.
Yeah, and I think Foden also got a bit unlucky not to get anything. He also created a few chances. But the other game I can talk about is the Arsenal-Liverpool game. Very exciting game, 2 big teams, and the game also kind of reflected that. Some elite goals scored by Saka and Salah, really living up to their premium tag. I think it goes to show that these premium players can really score in any game. It's similar to what we said about the premium defenders, right? Like they're the best players in the league for a reason. Both them took their goals really well. Diaz, of course, getting the assist just when I got rid of him. But yeah, I think nothing too much new that we learned from them. I would still, but one thing that's clear now is Liverpool's fixtures are turning. The fixtures are turning fully green, and we'll speak about it when we go to the easy fixtures. But Salah's looking really good. His score through his difficult fixtures has been excellent, and now he's facing some relatively easier defenses. And yeah, it could be a good time to jump on him.
He looks on it. Like he looks amazing this season. Like maybe not the volume of chances as compared to the previous seasons, but the quality of whatever the passes he plays and the finishing is just amazing. He's like really on it this season. And really sad I've not owned him at all so far this season, and I'm looking to change that sometime soon. Quickly to touch upon the Chelsea-Newcastle game. So was a very interesting game. It was pretty even overall. I think the game was decided by a few brilliant moments from Palmer, who who was stunning again in the game. He influenced the first goal. Neto started the game. Sancho was dropped, which was interesting to see. I think the wingers are very difficult to go to. Both Madueke and Sancho and Neto, I think they might rotate around. Mudryk has been pretty good in midweek as well. So I think difficult to go there, but very, very good game from Neto. Uh, the, the, the past game. The second goal again, Jackson, very clinical. First goal, Jackson, very clinical. Second goal, Palmer, again, adding on to his goal tally for the season. That is a mistake by Pope, but still, Palmer, as usual, somehow just comes away with these points like every single game. So overall, I think it was a deserved win, but a pretty tight game, and I think they lost in the cup midweek where they played their second team. Newcastle played their first team, so that also is, I think, positive for the weekend because Chelsea have a fully rested squad going into the Man United game. One notable thing in that game is Reece James played 90 minutes after a really long time, but he did play like a very boring left centre back type of role, which is very unusual. So I don't think he's still like an option to consider.
Yeah, it was my first time owning Palmer this season, and it was a lot of fun. Like, he could have got another goal with that late penalty that was disallowed, but yeah, not at all regretting the move, even though Saka matched him. I'll be looking at how to bring Saka back in at some point, but Palmer is amazing. Like, he's a lot of fun to watch when you own him than when you don't. It's so scary when you don't. It was just like peaceful watching a Chelsea game for once.
He's such an incredible player. Like, I mean, just watching him is a lot of fun, and not owning him is painful. Watching Chelsea games, honestly.
Cool. Okay. Let's move on then. Let's look at the team stats for the attacking side. Not much changing overall, except United jump quite a few places. They move up to 6th spot. But there's a huge tie between 6th to almost 12th. Like, all the teams are around that 1.5 to 1.6 goals per xG per game. City, Spurs, and Chelsea and Liverpool are still the top 4, but Brentford, with their game against Ipswich, really accumulating the xG and scoring 4 goals, close to almost 2 expected goals per game. Maybe having both Wissa and Mbumo isn't such a bad thing. They still have a good run of games left.
Yeah. The interesting team that shows up here is West Ham. I think not a team we have considered much so far this season, and they've historically been a good team of players to own, like Bowen. Consistent points. So really interesting to see West Ham's data becoming better and better, and more options for managers.
Yeah, I think I mean, we know why West Ham's on this table. They just played Man United. Like, it's a consistent theme every week. Whoever plays United last gets a huge bump in their attacking data. But one interesting stat that I saw this week, like our friend Sampy pointed out, that Leicester has scored every single game week this season. Their XG per 90 is just over 1, but somehow they've managed to score every game week, so no team has actually kept a clean sheet against them.
That's very surprising. Yeah, that's a very surprising statistics. We wouldn't expect it to be Leicester as the team to have scored every single game. One of the teams.
Cool. Let's move on to the defensive stats now. I think Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, and Wolves continue to be the teams to target. Although Wolves' fixtures have turned, so let's wait for a bit to see if Wolves rise in this table. And at the top,
Wolves are a fall setting, right? Like, they had literally the worst possible set of fixtures all at the same time. So pretty skeptical on Wolves' actual statistics here.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think when it comes to defense and if you're going to a non-premium team, it's a fixtures play. Like, you don't really care about how good the team is. You just go with those who have good fixtures and hope that they keep clean sheets. One interesting thing is Villa are still second on this defense table, but the clean sheets are not coming. They conceded a late goal again, and then, like, it's the opposite of what Leicester was doing in the attacking data. They somehow aren't able to keep those clean sheets. And Forest, on the other hand, are getting those clean sheets and even some attacking returns for their defenders.
Yeah. Another team to consider again now. Fulham had a bit of a rough set of fixtures. Fulham, like, with their fixture term. So few managers had Robinson to start the season with, and I think it's interesting to see if looking to downgrade, they're a team to target.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of fixtures, let's go right into the um, fixtures for this next game week. So again, thanks to Rob for letting us use this wonderful graphic that he's built for us. So yeah, like one thing that really stands out to me is the Man United Chelsea game is like dead tied, like 1.75 xg versus 1.75 xg, 17% clean sheet odds versus 17% clean sheet odds. So I mean that's always the game that I really look forward to every season. It used to be a title fight. Now it's more of a then it became a complete mid-table fight. Then it became a top four fight. Now again, I don't know what it is, but it's always a game that I look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it's also very, very exciting to this time specifically because of the new manager. Because I think United fans will be very, very excited, and Old Trafford will be up for it behind Roots. So a lot of new things to anticipate for this game.
Yeah, and the one thing that stands out for me here is Liverpool are expected to score over 2.5 goals against Brighton. Brighton really messed up their game over the weekend. They were 2-0 up, and with a few minutes to go, they really shouldn't be drawing that game. That was pretty poor defending, and they could have easily scored a third. Like they were 4-on-1, and they just lost the ball on the counter. And Liverpool are looking really good. I think one other thing that Salah has an advantage over Haaland, other than the fact that he's 2.5 million cheaper. If you remember early on in the season, we were saying it's Haaland and a 4.5 mid versus Palmer and someone like Watkins. But now, like, Salah is 2.5 million cheaper and he's outperforming Haaland. And he gets an extra point for goals and clean sheets. And now he has an easier set of fixtures. So it's almost like Haaland is becoming the differential in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that is, if people move him on to Salah, which I think some might. This is going to be interesting. I really hope that I'm planning to hold Haaland and he does become that differential, because I feel like the worst thing to do right now is maybe move to Salah and then the inverse starts happening, which is equally possible. So I'm in the situation that, okay, like I had this negative variance and now it's time to get some positive variance.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I think what we should try in this podcast is we should do the opposite things and see what happens. Maybe both the moves will flop. But yeah, even I'm planning to hold Haaland for similar reasons. Also because I'll have to take a hit to get Salah this week, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna be stubborn and hope that it works out.
There's nothing more to lose, right? Like 3.7 million to 5.5 million. What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the overall rank is like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't even realize how much of a red arrow it is sometimes when it goes from 2.1 to 2.8 to 2.4 or 3 or 1 point something. It all just becomes blurry.
I think I got a green arrow from like 3.8 to 3.7 million.
Yeah, that's actually a achievement in itself. It's tough to find that sweet spot of a grey arrow. But one more thing that's interesting in this is if you look at the player goal projections on the right, you'll see that Haaland is still projected to score more goals than Salah. But like we were saying, I think that can kind of get offset by the creativity that Salah has. He can get a lot of assists. He's been creating a lot of chances and he gets that extra point for goals and clean sheets. So overall, I think Salah is projected to score more points by a lot of models this week. And FPL reviews even asking me to take a hit to go from Haaland to Salah. So it's a bit scary.
I think the other factor here why Haaland does show up here on top is the percentage of points that Haaland gets per City versus Salah. Like you can see here in this graphic itself, Darwin is up there in the top 5. So there is that aspect of points getting split in the Liverpool attack, whereas there's no one in City. I'm trying to look for Foden and get some excitement, but I just can't find him anywhere. So models are predicting that Haaland is the main source of points, and that's probably the reason why he's up front. Not because maybe like Salah is a worse option.
Yeah, and I think you're perfectly right, because even against Southampton, City created 2.95 xg and Haaland got more than 2 of that all to himself. Whereas Salah, I remember I got Salah in and captained him against Bournemouth, and obviously it turned out to be one of the weeks where he didn't get a double-digit haul. But they scored 3 goals and he got just the assist. Like that was one of the weeks where Diaz went crazy. So yeah, you're right. Like there is a lot of attacking players who can share the points around for Liverpool. Um, Interesting to see Solanke still so highly rated in this table, about half a goal expected. He's been getting like 0.01 xg, 0.06 xg. Like it's pretty depressing viewing as an owner.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like I think when we initially got him, he was right up there in terms of the underlying statistics. Maybe not in points, but underlying statistics, he was just right up there. And then it just like fell off a cliff after his injury, I think. So I don't know. Like these are things I think maybe the lesson here I'm trying to think is catching some of these things a bit earlier, which again goes against the other trope that comes out that you need to have patience. Uh, so I think finding that balance of patience and just moving things on, it's part skill, part luck, and finding that balance is key to a good season.
Yeah, and then Spurs are still projected to score over 2 goals this week, which is still quite high, and especially against a team like Villa. But I think, yeah, the last time Solanke got a decent chunk of XG was against Man United, obviously. And like he had 1.6 XG or something, and since then he's not even got zero point 0.2 or zero point 0.3 in total. Yeah, so let's see how it goes. Okay, let's look at the fixtures now. There are a few fixture turns. You want to talk about the easy fixtures?
Yeah. So from a fixture perspective, the team that stands out on top for attacking fixtures is Leicester. They have Ipswich, Man United. Man United giving away a lot of XG to teams, but that may change. Brentford, West Ham in the next five, and Chelsea as well, which is not a bad team to target. So Leicester is a good team to get some attackers. Amongst the teams that we're looking at considerably decent attacking data as well, underlying so far, it's Man United, Chelsea, Spurs, and Brentford as the teams to keep in mind. Brentford's still good for the next few. Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, Leicester. We have some options like Bissau who did really well, and Mbeumo I think maybe most owned, but Brentford very strong team to target. Chelsea and Spurs as well. Spurs have Ipswich next, which really tilts their fixture difficulty, and then it kind of toughens up a bit with City, Fulham, and Bournemouth. Um, Chelsea, I think really great fixtures, especially owning Palmer from this week itself. I think Man United could be fruitful. So Man United, Leicester, Villa, Southampton for Chelsea in the next five, with Arsenal at home as the only considerably difficult fixture from an attacking perspective. If you look at defense, the teams that stand out with good defensive data and good fixtures coming up are Chelsea, Spurs, and Fulham. I think we spoke about Fulham in terms of good set of defenders at that budget option to consider, and they have Brentford, Palace, Wolves, Spurs, and Brighton in the next five. Chelsea, I think we again went through their fixtures, pretty good defensive data so far, although not as many clean sheets. But the hope is that that might turn around, especially with Lavia and Caicedo now playing in midfield, which adds a little more steel to the team. If you look at the budget option, I think Man United is showing up in the table, although they have bad defensive data. They do have good fixtures with the manager turn. It's a wait and see, but there are good certain options to consider there, like Dallo, Delict, if you're looking at that 5 million range, or Martinez. Again, options that I am looking into, especially if I want to add more money in midfield.
But yeah, still looks like Wolves is still the budget defensive team to target, especially because they have some good attacking defenders as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Wolves have an incredible run of fixtures, all not even just for the next five, like next 10. And I think someone like Aït-Nouri, who has that attacking potential, seems like a no-brainer.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to the difficult fixtures. Brighton,
Yes.
right at the top.
Brighton do have considerably difficult fixtures, definitely influenced by Liverpool and Man City amongst the next two. So, and then they have Bournemouth, Fulham, and Southampton. Bournemouth and Fulham are not easy fixtures this time around. So Brighton do have tough fixtures. At Welbeck, for example, doing really well. But if I'm an owner of Welbeck, do I just keep him because he's doing well, or switch him to Jimenez, who has good fixtures now, or like Cunha, for example?
Yeah,
that's a call that I would take.
I mean, firstly, if you have Welbeck till now, really well done, because you would have got a lot of points. Because the way I was thinking about it is, probably get Brighton forward in around the game week 12 or 13 mark when the fixtures ease up a bit. Because they have a great run after that. Definitely not a good time to own them with a lot of budget options.
Yeah, but not bad keeping as well, because like once you get past this Liverpool series, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, it's not bad. Then the other team is Aston Villa, showing up again here as a team with difficult fixtures. I think Watkins we'll see in the coming up slides. I've put Watkins as a player that I would avoid sell, because I think there's just better options at that price range for the immediate future. So Aston Villa, team that I wouldn't target at the moment, but in the back pocket in a few weeks down the line.
Makes sense. Okay. I think quite a few fixture turns. Definitely something to keep an eye on if you're making transfers this week. Let's go into a position-wise analysis now. We'll start with the forwards. I think this is a week where a lot of managers might be looking to move from Haaland to Salah, which means they will be looking at some budget enablers in attack. And I think both of us have mentioned a few of them. I've mentioned Cunha and Strand Larsen, and you've also mentioned Cunha and Jimenez, and even Vissa, actually, because he's come back from injury and hit it straight in. Is there anyone who you would prefer out of these options, or you think anyone can be a good option out of these?
These are the budget forward options, right? Discussing. I'm leaning towards Jimenez at the moment, because again, it's a bit of the learnings from the past. There's a little bit of worry in terms of Jimenez's minutes with Muniz, but might be on penalties. Fulham are a really good team. So good team. Jimenez is a quality player with proven potential in the past. Very, very good player. Penalties, risk on X minutes. I feel like this is where I was at with Wood, and I didn't consider him because of that X minutes. So I'm leaning towards Jimenez. Because of his price, if I had some extra money, then Cunha as well.
Yeah, I think the one I would recommend would be Vissa, because I think, again, Brentford are even better than Fulham in terms of data, and like both Mbeumo and Vissa, whenever they've played, have looked really good. They're creating a lot of XG. He's getting a lot of chances. He should have had another goal. They awarded it to him a bit too late, so managers missed out on those points. I think he would be the one I'll be going for if I had to make a move this week, because Brentford still have some good fixtures left. I think both of us have mentioned Haaland as a keep, so we know how that's going to end up. And apart from Haaland, I've said to keep Solanke as well, mainly because of the Ipswich at home fixture that's coming up next week. If you've kept him for this long, Villa at home isn't the worst fixture to own him. And then Ipswich at home, literally everyone is racking up a lot of chances. So it would be sad to move out just before that game.
Yeah, I think Solanke, I'm not selling Solanke, but I wouldn't look to get him in at this point. So I would still avoid. I put him in my avoid list.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's worth getting him in just for that Ipswich game, given how the data is in the past performance, and there's just better options.
Yeah, fully agree. And in avoid, I've gone for Welbeck and Wood. Welbeck, again, because of fixture reasons. Wood, I think at this point, if he keeps scoring, that's great. But he's yellow flagged. The update didn't look 100% encouraging. But even if he plays, I think we mentioned a few budget forwards who are cheaper than him and probably better options right now, instead of chasing the points that Wood has already got.
I put Watkins in sell, not because I don't think he'll score points. He'll probably still smash it in. Villa have Spurs, Liverpool, Palace, Chelsea, Brentford. From a forward attacking perspective, they can get goals in any games, right? But I would just want to if I had luxury transfers, I would try to optimize and get one of these cheaper forwards and go with a Salah, for example. And that's how I'm thinking about it from the perspective of putting him in sell, but not certainly a priority transfer, more of luxury team optimization if needed.
Yeah, I think same reason for me. I've also kept Watkins in sell and also Havertz. In general, Havertz has looked a bit off it in the past few weeks, and I think this could be a good option to downgrade him and move up in midfield. Like if you're going for that 3 premium structure, whether it's with Haaland or without him, I think Havertz is someone you can sacrifice to get one of the budget forwards. Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the midfield then. Yeah, I think for me midfield this week it has to be Salah right at the top. If you can get him for free, then just do it. That would be my recommendation. Kind of regretting the second move that I made last week. I did a Diaz to Johnson move in the end, which means that I can't. I would have had 2 free transfers to move to Salah. But also I feel like it's been taken out of my hands now. So and I don't want to take a hit to move away from Haaland just before he has a good game. But otherwise, Salah and Mbumo has been really good if you don't have him, and the AI team doesn't have him still. It's doing well, but he still has 4 good fixtures. I think it's a good time to get him in.
Yeah, completely agree. I think completely agree on Salah and Bomo. I have Palmer, Bowen, and ESR as well in keep. Palmer because I think we still haven't got him. United's still a good fixture in my opinion to target. Given how Ten Hag is playing, I don't know how it's going to be now. Smith Rowe again because of the Fulham fixture turn. I think good team, good player. So Smith Rowe and Bowen because West Ham's data is improving, maybe influenced by the Man United game, but Bowen's a good player and with reasonable fixtures, I think he's a good shot, especially if someone's looking at that differential player to bring in for some points. For keep, I have Bruno and Garnacho. Is again like Man United good fixtures. I wouldn't look to be selling them because of this managerial change and having that excitement to see how it's going to turn out, and also really good fixtures in the near term. Son and avoid because not really sure from an injury perspective, and then might as well rather just get Saka or Palmer if I have that additional money. So just put him in avoid, but certainly not a bad option if he's fit. Sell, I put Ez and Savio. Ez because of a slight injury midweek. I think he was actually a player that I was considering bringing in because of good data and like good fixture, but he did have a slight injury midweek. So put him in sell if you do have one, if you do have him. And Savio as well was injured midweek. That is something we should talk about because there was a lot of injuries in the midweek games.
Yeah, and I think Eze was looking good in terms of projections. Like if you see the AI projections on the left, he's behind only Palmer, Salah and Saka. But the injury, I think, put rest to those plans. And Savio too, like he, for the first time this season, has shown up in the statistics table, in the table in the middle. He's 7th for XGI per 90. So yeah, again, unfortunate for him, he was stretchered off. In terms of my recommendations, I put Palmer and Saka and avoid. And the only reason is that if you're looking to buy a premium midfielder this week, just go that little extra and get Salah in. And like in terms of timing, I think this is a good run to target Salah. I've kept Johnson and keep. Again, similar thought process to Solanke. He's still a mid-priced option. So unlike Son, you don't really need him to score every week. And he has looked good. He was a bit unfortunate not to get a return last game week. And again, he has the Ipswich at home game left. And in sell, I have Jota and Diaz. Jota because he's injured as well, and Diaz he did start the midweek game, and like it's forever unclear who's gonna start on that left wing. But yeah, like talking about injuries, there was also I think we'll come to it when we speak about defenders, but there were some injuries in defense as well.
Actually, very interesting with the Jota injury, right? Are you also considering Darwin amongst your forwards? They just don't want to deal with the headache of moving on, especially if you're thinking of covering Salah's points.
Yeah, I think it fully depends on what kind of a manager you are. There are, like, we spoke about a bunch of cheap options who we know will play. Darwin, there's that other unfortunate thing where he could play, he could get the chances, and still could be a frustrating player to own, where he'll miss a bunch of chances and then he'll get subbed early. So yeah, it really depends on your risk appetite. It could really pay off because they do have a good run of games. But personally, I think there are more sure shot transfers or more players you can show some confidence in. So I personally won't be going there.
Fair point.
Okay, let's move on to defenders and some injury stuff to discuss here as well. Yeah, I think in terms of buy, I've kept Ait Nouri for the same reasons we discussed, looking really attacking, amazing run of fixtures. And I've also kept Trent. I think I think I'm still sticking to the process that I mentioned last week, where I want to keep Trent and Gabriel or whoever the two premium defenders are as a holds permanently, and then just play around with my attacking players. And again, Trent's fixtures are turning, so if you did sell him a couple of weeks ago, it's not too late to just jump right back into him. He's consistently been top of the statistics table. Like, he right from game week 1, he's just stuck there, and like he's so clear of every other defender. So yeah, I think those two would be my buy.
Yeah, I have Ait Nouri again in my buy, and I probably get hammered for this every week, but I also have Dallo and the United defender. Again, because of the fact that good fixtures, maybe this time my reasoning is there could be a turnaround with the new manager bounce. Probably get hammered again for this week, but I'd like, if for a Gabriel replacement, he's someone I would consider. Let's put it that way. Keep Trent and Lewis because good players, similar reasoning to you. Good teams, good players, and not worth moving them on or trying to be too clever there. Avoid and sell Guardiola, Gabriel, and Van de Ven, mainly because of injury concerns. And I think the Guardiola's a minor one, but Gabriel, who knows? And it's like reading Arteta's mind again. Really don't want to play that game. I'm happy that I sold him. Don't have any Arsenal players so far. I feel really relieved not having to look at Arsenal's Twitter handles and all sorts of tweets analyzing backpacks.
I mean, Arteta this week was literally upfront about it. They asked him about his mind games, and he said, like, it's part of my job to mislead you and to. He said, I won't outright lie, but I'm going to play some mind games. And yeah, I mean, it's fair. Like, that's his job, but it's just frustrating as an FPL manager. But yeah, I've kept Gabriel in keep, mainly because the injury doesn't look too serious, and I think you can either save your transfer and use your transfer in more impactful places, because I feel he'll either play 0 minutes or he'll start. But if he does come on, it's frustrating, but I think that's an acceptable risk. Like, I'd rather go into next week with 2 free transfers. Because yeah, along with Gabriel and Trent, Lewis is also giving us an into the City defense. So even though the fixtures are turning, I just don't want to spend my transfers on those positions. And I've also kept Porro in keep. I wouldn't get him in at his price, but I think for a couple of weeks their fixtures are still decent, so we can keep him. And in avoid, I have Konate and Guardiola for the same reason, because he's a slight doubt. And Konate, I think, just spend the little extra and go to Trent. And sell, again, same thing, Van de Ven, because of his injury.
It's great.
Cool. Let's move on to the goalkeepers. Yeah, I think interesting thing here, I see that you've said sell all the goalkeepers. Is that a typo, or is that like frustration?
So that's what came into my mind while creating this slide. I just wanted to kind of get rid of every flecken, Mr. 2-pointer, and I just that was the meaning that I wanted in my head, but it's not the literal meaning. It's actually like sell no one and do nothing. Just ignore that position. We should probably delete the section from our analysis, because all goalkeepers just seem so uninspiring and bad options this season. I've put Sanchez in my buy because I just really want to get Flecken out so it's possible. I think Brentford have a few good fixtures. Probably hold him two, 3 more weeks, and Sanchez at 4.7 once Chelsea's fixtures turn. Hope that there are some clean sheets they can come by rather than Mr. 2-pointer.
Yeah, I think similar thoughts. I mean, I don't want to even spend transfers on defenders, even though fixtures are turning here and there. Keeper, I think, is just too little impact to make a move on. I mean, even Raya is not doing well, so it's really tough to predict who will keep clean sheets when. It's kind of sad that we got stuck with Flecken in our wildcards, but I think that's the story of our wildcard team.
That's another 50. I wish I'd gone Cells.
Yeah.
That's the other X minutes thing, right? I think there's some doubts about Cells. Is he going to keep his place or not? And I think some of these X minutes, I really want to kind of take a stock on how much importance I'm putting into that factor, because it's definitely not been the right decision so far.
I mean, when it doesn't work out, it can really be bad, like with Diaz or like there are players who have been X minutes doubts, and when they lose their spot in the team, it can be really frustrating, especially if it happens in a keeper position. You're left having to make a transfer in a low impact position. So I think it's okay. We made the decision with whatever data we had at the time. Let's hope we make better ones in future. But yeah, let's look at our next week's teams. We'll start with the AI team, sitting at 36k. Yeah, I think team looks pretty good. Salah already in the team without having to make a move. But the AI is captaining Palmer against United, probably because of his excellent data and United's poor defensive data. I think Maddison is someone who is likely to go if at all it makes a move. But I have to check if the Ipswich game tilts it in the favor of keeping him. Watkins is another player who's on his way out. It could be as early as this week or next week. I think defense looks pretty solid if Guardiola keeps his pace.
Yeah, really strong team again. There are it feels like this could become a dicey week if everyone's fit. Really strong team. There's concerns with Guardiola, Wood. Then the teams are a little bit grasping for breath, trying to get in. Like Rogers, Miklenko still decent options, but then the team does look a bit weaker because of the fact that it's more spread around with not having Haaland and you're not having those good players come in. But yeah, I think if Spurs do well, I can see another 60-70 points for this team.
Yeah, I think Johnson and Maddison are the real differentials for this team here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the injuries, I think Rogers and Miklenko are decent options on the bench. A lot of us are starting them. So yeah, I don't think... But I mean, it remains to be seen how much Lewis keeps playing. Like, I'll move on to my team because I have Lewis as well. And he played 90 minutes in the League Cup also. And Pep was saying that I want to rest him, but I can't, which means that he will rest him at some point, especially when the midweek games start. So maybe it's only a matter of time. But yeah, in my team, I'm going to be captaining Haaland again, mainly because I'm scared. Because the moment I move away from him or move the armband from him, I think he's going to go crazy. And I don't want to captain Palmer against United for sure. And yeah, I think Calvert-Lewin and Solanke stinking up the place. I also have Johnson and Rogers in a tricky game for both teams. And I'm hoping that Gabriel starts. But if he doesn't, Miklenko will come on, and I'm okay with that. So I'll be saving a transfer for sure.
Not making any moves for sure?
I mean, unless...
This week.
Unless there's some kind of an injury news or something, I'm not going to be making a move. And then I'll see next week with 2 free transfers. I'm not moving to Salah. That was the only move I was considering. Okay, let's move on to your team. Aitnouri in the starting lineup this week.
Yeah, Flecken in goal, Aitnouri, Lewis and Trent in defense, Foden and Mbeumo, Palmer, Rogers midfield, Haaland and the disaster twins of Calvert-Lewin and Solanke up front. Now, I am looking to move one of the twins out, Calvert-Lewin. And at the moment, it's mostly going to be Jimenez coming in. Um, I think this also gives me some more time to choose between Strand Larsen and Cunha, because I think I want to move Solanke out either to one of them, Strand Larsen, Cunha, or Jackson, in maybe like 1 or 2 weeks once that Ipswich game is done, and I can like freely get rid of him. So yeah, I think getting Jimenez now gives me that option of waiting to see who's the better option out of these three, and then get rid of Solanke. Jimenez is a good player, so that's mostly going to be my transfer: Calvert-Lewin to Jimenez. And captaining Haaland because same reason as you. I mean, I'm just going opposite of what makes sense from now on.
I think maybe in a couple of weeks' time, if we still seeing the same weeks happen, we should just intentionally start doing the opposite things and see what the universe does. Because it's
I mean, Southampton's home should have been like a banker. Of course, like I think there's sometimes you forget this is also a game of luck, and especially this season because of the fact there are so many options, it's highly likely that someone's going to end up at 2 to 3 million. It's just in this case it's us with the extra reliance on Haaland. But again, the hope is that now he starts firing, because law of averages says that if he has like blanked 3 times in the last 4 weeks, then it should catch up and he starts firing. I don't want to miss those.
Yeah, I mean, he has to go back into his robot mode at some point, and I'm hoping it starts now, just when people are losing some faith. But yeah, let's see how it turns out.
One thing that worries me though with Haaland and captaincy is like City are very, very, very tired squad. Like Haaland didn't play midweek, sure, he got rested, but a lot of the first team still played. Like Lewis, like the defense played, and they have like what Guardiola said, he has like 13 fit players or something. That worries me a little, because for Haaland to get chances and play well, the team also needs to play well. And if they're a fatigued, lethargic team, then that's not good for Haaland.
Yeah, and they had a tough game against Spurs, and Bournemouth isn't such an easy game either. But yeah, we know that City, when they turn it on, there's no one like them, like in terms of creating chances. And I think even for you, Foden in this game week could be a good differential. He did get an early sub in the League Cup. So you kind of have that 3 premium structure already with Haaland, Foden and Palmer. So you can easily switch around. Like if you want Saka, Salah, you can easily move to them in a couple of weeks. So I think your team is well set up. And whether you make the Calvert-Lewin move or not, like Southampton again is a simple fixture on paper. But yeah, I fully understand just being tired of having...
Tired, and also like the slightly more from a planning perspective, I'm 0.1 million short from going Foden to Saka. And this gives me 0.2 million, which is enough money to go Foden to Saka, which is the move I want to do in like a week or two.
Yeah, maybe you won't be. Maybe you could be priced out of it if you don't do it this week.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did the wildcard video, we did say that the only way I'd consider Calvert-Lewin a failure of a transfer is if he blanks in every single game. And he's done exactly that. Like we thought that, okay, fine, we know Everton are bad and we know Calvert-Lewin can be a troll, but I thought he'll at least get some penalty or like a goal against Ipswich. But yeah, it's just not turned out.
Yeah, there are not many penalties that have come this season. Like that's the feeling I have. I've not seen the data, but I feel like it's been much lesser than the previous seasons, and maybe that mental model stock of putting that lot of value on penalty takers also is not the right one.
Yeah, and it is true, because this year VAR has got clear instructions to not give penalties unless it's a clear and obvious error. Although that was just ridiculous, the penalty that West Ham got against United. I've not seen a soft penalty like that given in a long time. But yeah, I mean, definitely lesser penalties have been given, and I think we're seeing the impact of that. But players like Palmer are still doing well. Like last year, he relied so much on penalties. So good players should still get points, and penalties will offer an extra route to get those points.
Yeah, I think the way I'm thinking of penalties is the cherry on top of a good player, rather than penalties being the draw of the player.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be. Yeah. Cool. Okay. That brings us to the end of the this week's episode. Once again, happy Halloween, happy Diwali. Long day and long week, but hopefully some good results in the game week to come.
Yeah, happy Diwali, and hope Hope you have a really good time with your friends and family, and best